I'm Reeves Kurtner, and this is In Your Business. Season 1 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Automotive Huntington, online at mosesmeansmore.com, and powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications. This week, we're talking about supply chain and inventory challenges, and we're joined by Jason Moses, Executive Manager at Moses Automotive Huntington. Jason is going to share his insights on the automotive strike, hurdles faced by dealerships, strategies to overcome supply chain disruptions, and how to adapt to market shifts and meet customer demands. Let's get in your business. Jason, give us your background, your experience in the automotive industry, what you're doing now.
I followed the Moses family tradition. I started with filling up the Coke machines that you get your own little business as a Moses, filling the Coke machines, yes, paying the bills, ordering the product, filling the product, and then summers after I turned 16, I worked at the dealership, parts department, service department. My summer between senior year and college freshman, I actually sold cars, and then I would sell cars every summer when I came home from college. And then after I graduated from University of North Carolina in 95, I messed around a little bit and came back to the car business in July of 97. Said, all right, I'm going to do this full time until I figure something else out, I guess. But never did figure anything else out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in 2006, 2007, you transitioned into your current role now as running the dealership.
06, my father retired, and I took over the dealership.
When we see these headlines all the time, that we see these inventory challenges, what are the inventory challenges that automobile dealerships are facing today?
There's an argument that we had too much product, that we had too many vehicles on lot pre-COVID.
Okay.
I would argue at this point we don't have enough.
Sure.
There's not enough out there. I mean, I hardly have any Cadillacs on the ground. And they're slow to get to me. So, the first challenge is having supply and demand level out with vehicles. And we're still a little ways off from that.
When did you start? When did you see this coming?
Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
I don't think. Well, so COVID starts, and I mean everybody braces for. I don't know, the dark ages, I guess.
Of course, yeah, sure. No cars. The plants are going to shut down the dealerships.
That's right. There's not going to be any demand. Nobody's going to be buying anything. We don't really. It's just a bunch of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen.
That's right.
And then for a couple of months, it was bad. I mean, we weren't selling any vehicles, and then all of a sudden, they start buying cars like crazy.
Right.
And
stimulus money starts kicking in, and all that kind of stuff. Sure.
And the factories, they couldn't ramp up. And then, of course, we had the microchip shortage. We still have a microchip shortage.
Talk about that. I mean, what is that?
I need to fact check myself, but I'm pretty sure that there was a microchip factory in Japan had a big fire, and it was supplying a huge portion of the automotive computer chips, and that factory basically goes offline. And then you have COVID coming, and everybody slows down, and then now you can't get caught up.
Sure.
And it's not just cars; it's everything. And there's microchip. I mean, your coffee maker has a microchip in it.
Sure.
So
and these things are like the size of your pinky nail, right? Like
if they're that big,
right? Okay. And you talk about it in Japan too. Asia was a lot stricter on shutdowns and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that didn't help either.
Right. So I just read the other day where 5 figures the automotive industry as a whole lost 5 figures of production last month.
Okay.
Because of microchips.
Right. And again, so
I don't know how they come up with that. But.
Right. But is there any? I feel like it was first. Now it was cars. Now it's microchips. What is it now? In the fall of 2023.
Well, microchips are still a problem. The other issue seems to be everybody's hiring right now. Nobody has enough people. The factories can't get the vehicles delivered to us. They can't get the parts. They can't get the drivers. They invoice me on a vehicle, and it might take months for the thing to actually show up.
Get it. Wow.
it just seems like everything's on slow motion.
Yeah. How has it affected your parts and service departments?
Oh, it's been during COVID and the aftermath, the last 3 years. There's been parts shortages or more, a lot more back ordered parts. We've had trouble getting enough people to work in our service department, so our wait times have increased. So we've definitely been struggling to provide the level of service that we provided pre-COVID.
Sure. So how have you? And again, this is a podcast, not just an automotive podcast. We want business owners and entrepreneurs to listen to. But how have you managed to overcome these challenges and stay in business to continue to thrive and all that?
Well, you just have to do the best you can, really, right? What can I do to help the customer? If you help the customer, you're going to be fine.
Sure.
That's the number one thing you got to do. So you can't get the part. Well, what do we do? How we figure this out? We look forward other ways. We don't just sit there and say I can't do anything. We try to figure it out.
Sure. So you mentioned like Cadillacs. You don't have Cadillacs. What is that? How it is? Like it's this month we don't have Cadillacs. Next month we don't have.
I've been struggling with Cadillac inventory for a while.
Do you know why specifically? Versus other brands?
No, not really. Just I guess supply hasn't met with demand.
Yeah.
And I'm a smaller Cadillac dealer. They Cadillac probably they would rather send their cars to Miami or bigger markets than Huntington, West Virginia. This probably has something to do with it as well, but. You're supposed to get product on an earn and turn basis.
That's right. I was going to say. Yeah, one car is still one car.
One car is still one car.
Yeah.
And they've been coming and going. We're doing okay.
Sure.
We probably have 3 or 4 in stock right now.
So what are those conversations like with your reps at GM, at Nissan? Are there things you can't say?
Oh man, the factories. Their conversations seem to be one directional
on their end.
Yes.
And now it seems like there's such a huge emphasis on used and pre-owned automobiles. So how has that changed during all these challenges?
Well, the used car market it's been a lot of fun for me. It's been fun, and when I say it's fun, because it's so when the new cars really were gone, and all of a sudden used car prices just went crazy, right? And now they've dropped. They've been used car prices have been dropping. New car prices are still going up right now because there's still a lack of inventory. Right. But used cars, the inventory has gotten more right-sided, and vehicle prices have dropped. They're still, I would say, historically high.
I got it.
But they're not near. We're on the downward slope of that wave. Now there might, with this upcoming strike, that there could be another wave where used cars prices go back up.
Of course.
To me, the used cars are like the stock market.
Right.
You can kind of watch. Hey, my inventory. I have probably $2 million worth of used cars on the lot right this second. So, if there's a 10% market correction, well, I just lost $200,000.
Yeah.
And if it goes up 10%, then
you made $200,000.
I made $200,000, sort of.
Yeah, you're right.
Once again, just like a stock market, you don't actually make it until you sell it.
That's right. Exactly. How has interest rates?
Interest rates are definitely affecting things. We're starting to get some inventory. This month has been a little bit slower, and we feel like that the interest rates are starting to have an effect on the car market.
They are having an effect.
Yes.
So why are new car prices still going up and used is coming down?
There's still
the inventory.
You still have the inventory demands. It's like I don't have a Escalade on the lot. I don't have a Yukon on the lot. Those full size SUVs. They're a lot of times they're sold before they show up.
That's right.
So you don't. Why would General Motors put incentives on that vehicle?
Sure. I do want to put an asterisk out there. We are recording this at the end of September. So if you're hearing this and going, it's September of 2023, and you're going, oh, well, hey, he does have an Escalade. I do want to keep in mind, go to the website, mosesmeansmore.com, and check out their complete inventory. I wanted to throw that out there for you.
Yeah, and the strike might be over by the time it's there, too.
That's 100% right. There might not.
Maybe you should run this one first.
Right? I think I should. And I will. How do you approach budgeting and forecasting when you don't know what you got?
That's been a challenge. Most of my forecasting is based on vehicle sales or revenue. You start with revenue, and then you kind of figure out expenses. And our projections for the most part this year have been pretty close.
Okay.
We're really not that. We're a little off of what we projected, but not much. The service and parts business, people need their cars fixed. The good thing about Huntington, West Virginia, and being a car dealer is you got to have a car. Just about.
That's right.
Most people, it's hard to not have a car in this area.
That's correct.
And if you don't fix the one you're driving now, then you got to buy a new one pretty soon. Yep. So it's a fairly consistent business model. And service and parts have been pretty steady this year. Our body shop's having record months. They just keep having record months.
Yeah.
That's been a lot of fun. The body shop's really doing well. And so the biggest variable is the sales,
That's right.
the vehicle sales, and it's been fairly. The used car market, you can control your own destiny. The new cars, I can only sell you what GMC, Nissan, and Cadillac send me.
That's right.
But used cars, all I got to do is just go find a good deal someplace, and I can pass it on to you. And you trade for them, buy them at auction, buy them off the street, whatever.
Have you ever? Do you ever go, screw it? I don't want to sell new cars anymore. I just want to be a used car guy. Hypothetically,
yes,
yeah.
Definitely. There are times when you talked about those conversations with the manufacturers. There's definitely times where you're just like biting your tongue and going, "Gosh, I don't know why I fool with these people anymore."
Why do you fool with them still? What are those benefits versus doing new and used versus just doing used?
Well, one of the best ways to generate used car inventory is by trading for them on the new cars.
That's right.
Yes. And so you buy a Yukon from me. You bring it to my store twice a year to get serviced religiously for 3 or 4 years. And then you bring it in and trade it in on another one. Yours is going to be pretty easy to sell.
That's right.
Yep. Reeves is taking great. Look how we've serviced this thing. He's been taking good care of it. We know that. The story just makes it easier to sell, right? And we know it's a good vehicle. We're not going to spend a lot getting it ready for the lot. So that's one of the best ways. That's the best way of getting a used car is to trade for it.
I like it. Yeah. How have customers been dealing with these challenges? I know they know that it's not just one place, but how have they been dealing with all these challenges? Inventory specifically, not
inventory.
Yeah.
Okay. It is what it is. I can't get the vehicle. Nobody else has it. We've got it coming.
Are they pre-ordering and waiting for a new one?
So what we've really been doing, people come in. This is especially at the most challenging inventory places. They'd come in and say, "Well, we just tell them everything we got coming. Here's the vehicles we got coming." And they go, "Oh, I like that one.
I'll take it."
That's right.
Yeah.
And we'd actually have them sign paperwork on the vehicle. Now, of course, if it came in and it wasn't what. We really didn't care if they bought it or not, right? Because if they said no, we just sell to the next person.
Of course.
So, but we were trying to, here, you sign the paperwork. If it doesn't meet your expectations, you don't have to buy it.
That's right.
But we're expecting you to buy it.
Yeah.
You're expecting to buy it, and when it shows up, we'll call you. And it'd show up, we'd call them, and they'd come in and get it.
Who would ever thunk that people would buy a car based on what you got coming?
Right. It was crazy. It's still like that on our full size SUVs for the most part.
Really?
We definitely still have products that are like that.
Yeah,
they're already sold.
How have your employees handled this? Your sales guys,
they've all done. We've paid them. They've done. They're not sitting at home starving. They're doing good.
I got it.
And it really it's made for it actually has not been a bad experience for anybody. It sure is a lot easier selling the car when it's not there, to somebody that wants it.
That's right.
You say, all right, sign up. And when they come in, all you're doing is delivering it to them, right?
Yes.
Which is the fun part of it anyway. Hey, your new vehicle's here. Come on and get it. Look, this thing's awesome.
Yes. Here's the keys.
And it is awesome, right? So it's changed their process, but our people, my sales team has been doing it for a long time, and they've done really well, and they've managed these problems, great. So I feel like they've done real well with it.
Do you think there's any lessons from this that when this is leveled out that you can take from this? Looking ahead, you got normal inventory, you've got all the new vehicles you want, you got all the used. Interest rates are where you want them to be. Is there strikes over? Is there lessons like, hey,
that's a lot of stuff you just listed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it sounds like a fun business.
I still, to me, this business is not really that hard. You just take care of the customer. If you do that, it's going to work out. And we've sold cars when we had way too many. We've sold cars when we had too few. And but at the end of the day, you just need to take care of the customer. You do what you say you're going to do.
So talk about the automotive strike. From your perspective, what is it? Where is it? Because Ford is not shut down completely. Nissan, GMC is not shut down completely. It's and Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep. It's individual factories and so forth. I mean, give me your perspective on that.
I feel like the union has done they've been very smart in how they're doing this. Traditionally, what I've read is they've picked one of the three manufacturers because the contracts all are around the same time for whatever reason.
When they're going to renew?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And they typically pick one of the manufacturers and just strike that one and leave the other two alone. And this time they struck all three, but they haven't struck them completely. They've only shut down like one factory for each. But they've actually just bumped that up to a second factory with General Motors.
Okay.
And the second one is a problem for my customers. They've shut down the parts distribution.
Okay.
So now it's going to be really tough for me to fix vehicles until they stop striking that plant.
What kind of parts? Everything? I mean,
there's a distribution center.
Oh, the whole.
It's not a manufacturing facility. It's the distribution center.
Okay. Jeez.
Yes, and so they struck one plant that makes Colorado, Canyon, and Savannah, which you're like, those aren't very high volume vehicles. I was trying to get, I went to one GMC meeting. I was like, hey, talk to the zone manager. I would like to get some Savannahs. And the whole table started laughing at me, which is like, okay, that's not a good sign. But regardless, that's a side story.
I got it.
They struck that plant, but that plant makes some part. So it actually also shut down another plant.
Got it.
That made Malibus and Cadillac XT4s. They can't get that part.
Yeah.
And now they're hitting the distribution center, so it's going to be really hard to get the parts to repair people's vehicles. And that's going to be tough for GM to ignore this. But it's also going to be tough to pay the union a 35% pay increase, let them work 20% less hours, and give them a full pension.
That's right.
Yes. So I don't know where this. I believe this strike's going to take a while.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like they're far apart.
We'll find out. It's recorded, right?
Yeah, that's right. So September.
I feel like this is going to be a while.
September 27th or 8th.
We're almost October. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
So how are you preparing now for a potential strike?
Well, we've already started trying to resource. We're trying to find. General Motors has these parts programs where if I don't buy, there's aftermarket parts, right?
Okay.
And if I buy all aftermarket parts, they start penalizing me.
Okay.
They've waived that program at this point.
That's good.
It is good.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get creative on where we get parts for these vehicles. We're buying them. The interesting thing is all these car dealers that they have bloated parts inventories right now. And there's people out there that have bloated parts inventories. I have some old stuff that I need to get rid of.
Okay.
We're going to thin some of this out. Start swapping, because you can't buy it from me. You can't buy it directly from GM. So that'll help. We'll do that for a little while. We'll just have to get creative. We're already having problems getting parts to fix people's cars.
I was going to ask, is that the first problem? This parts supply stuff, that's really the first problem? for you. What do you think the future looks like on strike? You think it's going to take a long time? Inventory, it's not going to help.
It's not going to help inventory.
It's not going to help anything.
And like, even if General Motors and Stellantis and Ford are the only ones that are affected by the strike, which is not necessarily the case, but that could just be those three. It's going to affect everybody's inventory. Say
it again. Is there anybody else in America that can be affected by that? Who else? Can Toyota be affected by this?
Indirectly.
Yeah.
If one of their suppliers is affected by it, and now so indirectly they could. I don't believe the UAW is not in any Toyota.
That's what I was asking. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, then,
I'm not positive.
Yeah, I got it. But then, like, there's. I know Ford is made in Mexico.
Oh well, there's Fords made all over the world.
Yeah. So are those are they not UAW? Can those cars still come to America?
These are only American vehicles.
So
most of the, Nissan has a plant in Canton, Mississippi, and a plant in Smyrna, Tennessee.
Okay.
Honda is in Ohio. Kia's got in Georgia, and Toyota's Buffalo, West Virginia, right?
That's right, yeah.
But General Motors, Ford, Stellantis, the big three, right? The big American three car companies, they have a tremendous amount of they have a higher percentage of their vehicles are made in America.
That's right.
And of course they're all unionized.
Yeah. I just wonder how it would affect those the ones that are made.
It would be more indirect, unless these UAW contracts are specifically with these three companies.
That's right.
So even if you are a UAW worker at one of these other places, assuming they have the UAW in them, wouldn't necessarily be on strike because they're under contract. But the way they could be affected is if a supplier, this shut down a supplier, whether now the supplier also supplies the Honda plant in Ohio. Well,
that's right.
Now we can't get parts, so we can't make cars.
Could GMC be like, hey, let's make more of what did you say, Colorados? Can we make more Colorados overseas and then ship them over here? Could they do that?
If that plant wasn't already making that vehicle, you can, but just take a couple of years.
Of course, okay, to set it up. Like I said, I know I'm asking ignorant questions, but I'm not in this world, right? But it's just interesting times. I've never seen all three strike before. It's like, well, no, they never have all three.
Well, and regardless of whether let's say that they don't affect the other auto manufacturers. Well, just a lack of that portion of inventory is going to create where I got to buy a Ford truck. I can't buy a Ford truck. I'm going to go buy a Toyota Tundra. And now all of a sudden, supply is not keeping up with demand, and so it will affect everybody one way or the other.
That's right. What advice would you give to other businesses, other industries, that could be dealing with inventory, supply chain issues and challenges?
Well, you gotta always be looking ahead. It's just like in used cars. If we feel like the used car market is getting ready to go up, then you should be buying right now, right? Stock up. And when you think it's going to go down, well, you should be more aggressive on selling out your inventory, right? Because I'm going to be able to replace that unit cheaper in the future. There was a point where oil was scarce. I think it was 2021 maybe, when we bought a whole bunch, and it took us a while to go through it, right. And we had a bunch of oil on the books, but it also allowed us to do the things that we wanted to do. You got to be looking ahead a little bit and thinking about macroeconomic issues and how that's going to affect your portion of it, and then you place bets and hope they come out.
That's right. Anything else I missed on this?
I guess one last thing that I wouldn't mind going on record for saying this too, since we all the manufacturers have been talking about how they're never going to get back to the way it was on inventory, that we're going to keep this inventory really tight, 60-day supply or less. And I've been saying from the get-go that we're going to be right back to where we were.
Sure.
Where it's more of a 90, 120-day supply.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
What does that mean, 60 to 90-day supply? What do you mean by that?
Well, if I sell 10 GMC, if I sell 30 GMC Sierras a month,
then I need a 30-day supply would be 30.
Okay.
A 60-day supply would be 60, or 30. Yeah, 60-day supply would be 60. A 90-day supply would be 90.
Right.
So it's based on your sales.
So what does that mean now? Again, explain it again. I'm being ignorant here.
All right. So when COVID came, and all of a sudden there's not enough inventory,
That's
right? And so prices go up, and the manufacturers, they stop putting rebates out on these vehicles, right? So now all of a sudden, if you had a $5,000 rebate on that truck, and now you don't have a $5,000 rebate on that truck, and you raise the price, clearly you're making more money when that truck is sold than when it wasn't, right?
That's right.
So the manufacturers have done very well in this time, and they go, well, gosh, this is great. We should keep it like this all the time. We're going to keep it where inventory matches demand, so we don't have to use these big incentives to sell these vehicles.
Okay.
So it's going to be less expensive for us to sell these vehicles, and they've all been saying that. And I think there's going to be $8,000 rebates on these trucks again,
and so
right around the corner. Now the strike's going to hold this up. Probably it's going to be a little further off in the future. So
what did you all operate at pre-COVID? How many?
I think the industry as a whole was probably closer to 90 days.
Okay.
Maybe 70s, 80s. And also it depends on the individual vehicle makes a big difference. And the manufacturer. If you got a hot product, you may be running on 15, 20 day supply.
Okay, sure.
And then I always feel like trucks are a little, because people want a lot of variety, so we would typically intentionally stock maybe a 90-day supply. And I wouldn't be surprised if trucks didn't hit a higher day supply nationwide, maybe 90, maybe 120-day supply.
Okay.
But they said they're not going to go back to that. But
you think they will?
I think they will.
Got it. Which will be a good thing, right? That's good for the customer.
It's good for the consumer. Yeah, it means you go down, look like it used to be. You go down the car lot, you got lots of choices, and then there's incentives. There's a big rebate or special financing or something. And it's a competitive marketplace where we're bidding against each other. So it's definitely good for the customer. It's not as good for the manufacturers or for the dealer, right? I'm carrying that inventory. There's an inventory cost. I'm paying floor plan on those vehicles.
That's right.
And the manufacturers having to put on big incentives.
This has been In Your Business. I'm your host, Reeves Kurtner. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and even leave us a review. Season 1 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Automall of Huntington, MosesMeansMore.com, and powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications.